He wanted to get a Corvette because he drove Chevy. All of a sudden, he just showed up one day with it, beaming ear to ear, smiling. I mean, he was just proud of it. I remember he wouldn't drive it to the shop a lot. He really kept it private, and that was just his thing. He was adamant about me not even really touching it or being around it ever. I had some friends over, and I think I put 10 miles on it. Brought it back, I cleaned it.
Put the cover back
Put the cover back, but I failed to remember that he had a notepad that he literally wrote down the date and the mileage of how many miles he put on it. He walked in and he had that notebook in his hand and he looked at me and he said, "You drove my car?" And I'm like, "I didn't drive your car." He opened it up and I'm like, "I'm busted." I really did think he was gonna kill me. You know, we shared a room from the time we were little boys all the way up to the weekend that he passed away. We had 2 twin beds. We just lay in bed and we talk about girls, talk about school, talk about racing. He was 19 years old, and you'd never know he was 19 years old when he passed away because he had learned who he was, what he wanted to do, and he stuck to it.
The last words that he wrote to you, what were those?
When he went to New Hampshire, he wrote me a note on a piece of paper and it says, "Austin, I hope you have a great week. I love you more than anything in the world. Be safe at what you do. Love you much, Adam." The day he passed away, when I got home from school, it was sitting on the bed. That was a tough letter, because, I mean, that was the last thing he said to me. There's not a speck of dust on it. No mold, there's no dry rot. When I get in it, it still smells kind of like a new car. The way that I'm gonna take care of it is the same way that he took care of it. I try to leave it the way it was. The stations are still to the exact same stations that he had them set to. I've never changed the clock on it. There's a beach towel, there's a checkered bear in it, a to-go container from a chicken restaurant that he drew on it.
Not changing it, does that keep you closer to him?
It's not my car. I'm just the keeper of it. And if I change the wheels, if I tint it, if I take something out of it or I put something in it, it's not leaving it the way that he left it. I drive it on days when I really just miss him. I baby it. A light could be green a quarter of a mile away and I'm already on the brake going, it's gonna turn red and somebody's gonna run that light and it's gonna hit this car and it's gonna total it and then I'm the one that wrecked Adam's car. I drive it the way he drove it. I've got Adam memorabilia up to my ears. I've got all his fire suits, I've got helmets. But to me, that car was my brother. And I would share that with my kids. This was your uncle's car. He drove this car, he loved this car. Maybe when they're, 40, 50 years old and I want to let them drive it, they'll appreciate it the way I appreciate it. So when I drive that car and he's sitting there, I got a little bit of Adam with me driving the car, but I got new memories that I'm making with my son, which is awesome. It's still very fresh to me. I miss him every day. He was my best friend and he was my brother. And I think that's why it's so special for me to have that car and get to drive it from time to time because I feel closer to him driving that car than I do anything else. It makes me feel like I'm back close to him.